And the PI board supposedly agreed. So what does that mean? The PI board can only affect their own license. So therefore, they may create another category inside their own license. You still have to be a PI. And the clarification I've heard several times is that there's already PIs who are already doing the job of computer forensics. And if you create a separate license, they're not going to vote to say, okay, let's have a separate license and I have to go get some more education and go do something else so I can get the separate license to do computer forensics. So I've already heard through the grapevine a number of times that the current PIs are not going to vote on having to change their own license in order for the current people to have to be. In other words, they're paying for you. You have to pay to be their friend. They're not paying to try to be your friend, okay? It's in a fraternity or anything. So at least from that standpoint, you've got some issues. The other thing is that if it's the PI board, again, that they've submitted this thing to, it sounds exactly like what happened to us in Georgia. In Georgia, we got to work with a representative, but the representatives were working with the PI board. So we kind of got stabbed in the back. So that's probably what's going to happen here. I hope it doesn't. I hope they're able to actually create their own, but they only got the agreement of the PI board, not some state legislator or not some other group of representatives that I know of. So that's going to be a big problem. So then you got Delaware, where it's confusing, because I actually pulled this from the law. Basically, an investigator or agency shall not include any person employed as a computer forensic specialist. So they're saying a PI does not include a person who is physically a computer forensics person. But then we got this letter from Mr. Kessler again that says Delaware actually states you have to have a license. So who's right? I mean, Delaware sends one, and the state says another thing in their law. So another gray area somebody's going to have to fight on, and it's completely confusing. So Andy Rosen, how many people know who Andy Rosen is? Okay, so basically he created SMART, and he basically he has ASR data. He's one of the brightest, and I consider him to be like the grandfather of computer forensics. And he's one of the brightest guys I know. And he basically had to go and get a PI license. And this is what his statement was: is that the license had nothing to do with ethics, computers, chain of custody, evidence, anything he's involved in. It had to do with guard dogs and administrative regulations. That's what his test was on. So this is starting to get a little bit absurd, especially since this is all this guy does, is computer forensics, write software, forensic software. So, and this comes from Kessler's notebook. And the reason that I'm bringing this one up is because if you look at this particular paragraph, however, if the computer forensic analyst were to follow a digital trail outside of a company it contracted with, in order to find the nature, location, or identity of an intruder, they must be licensed as a private investigator. So the first part, they say, well, if you're hired by a company and you work inside the four walls of that company, you are completely fine. And they actually declare if you're actually looking for some intruder on your server. So at least from that standpoint, they're saying, fine, you're good inside the own company. But as soon as you connect to something else, what does that mean? A DNS server? If I type ping Yahoo because I got something from does that mean that now I've got to be a PI? That's what this says. As soon as you connect to anything outside to identify the intruder, you now have a problem. So, again, private investigator. Now, it's gotten worse because now most of you probably heard about this one. How many read this? That basically right now is the board has sent, or the state of Texas has sent letters to all the computer repair shops in Texas that says they're now in violation or maybe in violation of the law, and that now they have to quit their business and go get a PI license, which takes 3 years, before you can come back and repair computers again. That's starting to get really... Literally, the Geek Squad, I understand, got a copy of this letter that says that they physically have to go be, or that they may be in violation of the law. Yes, ma'am? Dell actually contracts third parties in most cases. Dell doesn't actually technically in most cases have their own people that I know of. They actually send people.
What about like IBM Global Services or EDS?
Anybody who does it for third party, that's always a problem. EDS, ISS, Deloitte & Touche. Deloitte & Touche may even be a worse situation because they keep an expert like in another location, and when they need them, they ship them to the state that they need. So at least from that standpoint, at least that's my understanding of it, that they may have to have a license in every state. So... Okay. He says that they sent out a clarification letter last week, which I must have missed, that says that they are not requiring computer repair shops. That's probably because all the computer repair shops got together and started a lawsuit against the Board of Private Investigators. So, right. But you still start getting into some of these gray areas where somebody's going to have an argument. In Michigan, they did not leave any gray area there whatsoever from that standpoint. They basically say computer forensics is this. And so computer forensics is now listed in their law. And it gets worse. You cannot hold a license for your company. So how many people are under 25 years old? Okay, some of you. I started my first company when I was 23. So you cannot hold the license for your company as a PI, even if you meet all the other qualifications, unless you're 25 years old. So you can go get shot at in war. You can drink. You can go to strip clubs, but you can't hold a PI license with minimal education to get this unless you're 25. So I see big problems here. And then you have to obviously post bond and stuff like this. This starts to get into expensive stuff. And then the other problem that there's confusion. If you look, the title of this is, basically in the law now they say a period of not less than 3 years following this on a full-time basis. And then you read the bottom part, investigation, law, criminal justice, or computer forensic or other computer forensic industry certificated study. That's a real word. It's actually a real word. Certificated study is not a Bush and a Gam thing here. It's I'm the decider. Anyway, so the computer forensic certificated study. But the problem is now not only who has a certificated study that's 3 years. I mean, anybody have a computer forensics that's 3 years? I don't think so. And then the other problem is that is acceptable to the department. That's an opinion. I mean, like some guy sitting at the top this week goes, he's good, I like him. And next week it's like, oh no, he's a competitor because I am a PI and I'm in business too because I'm on the board and he's a competitor. I don't want him. So they kick you to the curb. And again, this is also the same thing with ethics boards and stuff like that. If they think you've done something wrong, they get to also revoke your license. So some issues there. And then I got this. This is a friend of mine who actually owns a company there who had to shut down his company on May 28th. And he keeps asking, and has still up till now been asking Michigan what you need in the certificated study to be a PI. And they keep saying, we really aren't sure yet. We don't know. We haven't decided what will qualify. So basically, they made a law, passed it, and they have no clue what they're going to do about who's going to be accepted. Who's the professional licenses? Okay. All right. So California basically, they basically stated that the category of things, this is from the AG, so it's basically coming down the line and saying that you do not have to be a PI to be a computer forensics guy unless you interview people again. So once you interview people, bam, you got a problem. All right, so I pretty much decided at this point that I got to become a private investigator, so I'm going to go take the test. So I sent off some information to go find out what I need to study to become a PI. So this is from the vice president of the GAPI, the Georgia Association of Private Investigators. You're correct. There is no official study guide or study material available for the private detective exam. By Georgia, blah, 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 the state requires the test, but they give you no guidance or any way, shape, or form to actually find out what the heck is on the test. No one wrote a study guide in 40 years that they've been around to say, professional license. I'm going to start a professional license. I'm not going to have qualifications for what that is. So I sent this to my friend, the senator. He goes, man, this is ridiculous. Do you mind if I share this with Secretary of State? Dang it, did you not see the Secretary of State gives this test? But I hope he helps out. I hope it works out. But don't they know? I was pretty sure that they would know. They don't have like a book they're selling that says study guide. You can make money there, sell book.
Is there a whole music circuit music? Should be.
Yeah, their whole music circuit. Well, this is not just in Georgia, trust me. It happens state by state. So here's just a quick idea about what's on the exam. They give you 3 sample questions. That's all they give you. There's nothing else other than say what you need. But anyway, so weapons, calibers, blah, blah, blah. We got to move on because we're cutting short here. So then you go through this. It's basically, a number of different things with regards to whether or not this question's leading or something. So I get to this. How many times does computer appear? Big fat 0, none. Not the word computer anywhere on that test at all. There is no requirement for you to have to do anything. So